Welcome to Sable BooKnight, an independent publishing company located in Canada, offering author services and accepting submissions for anthologies. Visit sablebooknight.ca for more information, and BooKnight shares the K. Here are your hosts, Tania and Story Tyrant. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sable BooKnight podcast. My name is Tania.
Hi, I'm Tyrant.
And today we are going to talk about how do you define success as an author.
This is very important.
It is. So before we dive in, how are things going on your end, Tyra?
Good. I have these 3 short stories edited and sitting here. I'm getting ready to put into the codex, what they call it? A book.
I love it. So Sable BooKnight's Portals Anthology, the book launch and official release date is set for April 11th, and the proof copy comes tomorrow. So I'm going to review the proof copy, and if all is well, I will make any modifications required and then re-upload it, and voila, it'll be ready. Yeah, otherwise, I got Red River Man. I got the Red River Man proof copy yesterday, and I went through it, and I didn't like my title page, so I changed my title page and then re-uploaded it, and it's good to go. So Red River Man is officially live and ready for purchase, and I've ordered some copies for our many markets.
Good.
Yes, and I was thinking about our markets that we have booked this year. My lovely husband pointed out that perhaps we should consider booking one in the city so that we reach a different audience rather than always doing just in town. So that's something that maybe we could look at and see what we can find.
There's several of them in Winnipeg and south of Winnipeg and east of Winnipeg and west of Winnipeg.
Okay. I'm thinking like August. I don't do good in heat, so July is pretty much out of the question for me. So
the other consideration is inside markets.
Yes. If we can find an inside one in July, that wouldn't be too bad.
There is one in downtown Winnipeg somewhere. I haven't been there since I was a kid. Every time my grandmother would come out, we would go and she would get a table. What's it called? It's something flea market and bazaar, it was called.
Okay, well, maybe you can look into that.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's still there, but after COVID, who knows, right?
Yeah, who knows, right? Everything's changed. Okay, so let's get into our topic. So what does success mean to you, Tyra?
I measure success differently at different times. If I've had a really bad night and I haven't slept lots, success is getting through the day, literally. If as I said yesterday, I spent most of the day ill, and so I didn't get things done I normally do on a Monday, just because it just didn't happen. And my success was that I actually got some decent sleep. I come out of the negative event, physical health event, feeling much better, and now today I'm going to catch up. So success there is a personal thing. Excuse me, but how do I consider? What do I consider success in my writing? Again, it depends on the day. Did I do my 300 words today? My minimum of 300 words. Did I get 300 words written? I did not do that yesterday. I didn't get any editing done yesterday. On the weekend, I got no writing done, but last week I got a bunch of editing done. And I wrote, the last few days, I wrote my little speech for the presentation at the library in Toulon, which I am nervous about. I haven't done one for a long time, but I have to get out there. I got to do this again.
But it's not a big audience either, so that makes a difference.
Yes, it should be a small audience. And last time there was 2 people, so I'm hoping that we don't do too much better than that.
Yeah.
But there was a snowstorm last time, so we can argue that, right?
Yes.
And the weather, if you know rural Manitoba, sometimes when that weather starts flying, it really isn't the best. It's safer just to stay home. By other way of success, some people will argue it's a daily word count. If that feels good, that's great. But you should have the bigger goal somewhere up where you can see it. So novel in 2 years, or a novel in 1 year, or a novel in 6 months, or a novel in 18 months, or whatever length of time that you know you can succeed in writing this novel. And so if it's a word count, a daily word count, that could be your success. If it's a project count, so I have these 3 done. I have 2 more short stories I'm working on to go into this group. Is it the completion of a project where you're holding a physical book in your hand? That's the help.
Thanks.
Yeah. So if you're going to judge your success by your completed projects, then you have to break it down into small steps, spread those out over your timeline. And each time you achieve these small steps, that is part of your success. Now, you will get bookitis. So I don't know what else to call it. If you own boats, they call it footitis. If you own cars, it's called if you're into like muscle cars, there's a age thing that they do. So what'll happen is you'll get a story published. Let's say you're doing short fiction, so you get a story published. Like, yes. And then you get another 10 or 11 rejections. Oh, and you get another story published. Yes. And then you get 4 or 5 rejections. You get another story published. Yes. And then you get 2 or 3 rejections, and you get a story published, and you're paid for that story. And you're like, yes. Right? And then you get a couple more stories published you're not paid for, and you're not as happy with those now. Not like you were the first ones. But then boom, you get another paid for publication. You're like, yes! Right? Because now it's paid for. And then you find yourself not really submitting to those secondary markets as much. You're almost going exclusively into the pay markets, right? And it may just be the first one, $20. The next one might be $30, you know? You might be sitting there looking at $100 check going, yes! Right? Because now you're moving up. $100 is about where you're going to sit for short stories, though, sadly. These days. I mean, if you're lucky, you might go up, you're moving up the markets now, so you might actually get more. And then you say to yourself, you know what? I'm getting positive feedback. I'm doing sales. You put together a clump of your work. I don't know how you want, and you sell it on as an ebook online. And you go, hey, I'm actually making money doing it as an ebook. And then you take that money and you do it. You take the book you created as an ebook and you create a print copy and you hold it in your hand, and that changes you. This is holding
It really does.
your physical representation of your creative child in your hands. This venture, when you're holding it there, and you did this, you can say, you did this. Oh, I had it here before. So it's like these books here. The Voices books. I put these together for the Lake Winnipeg Writers Group for a decade, and I loved it. I loved being part of the group. I loved putting the books together. I love that we came up with a look that we voted on and accepted. I brought the look to the group, and they went, yes. We found every time we'd move forward. So we went from saddle bound to perfect bound. We went from publishing once a year to twice a year. We did it for marketing reasons, and it did work. And we had every issue pay for the next issue. And it was hard. It was very hard work. We had a core group. You always have a core group within any organization, especially volunteers, who do the majority of the work. But it gave me the courage and the drive to move on to other people's projects, both through the group and through those who had picked up Voices and said, hey, who does this? Who is this little black cat that does this? And I came in and I said, hey, it's me. And, you know, we published, my little boutique publisher, I would publish 2 voices a year for a long time, decades. And I published 3 to 4 books for other people a year. Some of those books would be saddle-bound chapbooks. Some years I didn't count those, which was funny. For the last few years, I didn't count the chapbooks. I count them as projects completed, and they're still real books. And in the beginning, I was so excited to do chapbooks. And I'm still excited to do chapbooks. But it was funny because having moved into the perfect bound and doing more and more projects perfect bound, I would say, oh, I published 3 books this year, and I'd name them off, and they'd go, oh, well, what about my chapbook? Oh, yeah, your chapbook, and their chapbook, and that chapbook. And they go, oh, yeah. But it's like that in your writing. I've talked to several people, and they've said to me, and this is decades ago, once you hold your first book in your hand, the drive to hold your second book in your hand is going to be really strong.
That is so true. Definitely. I definitely felt that. I think the first one, like, I did a lot of short stories first. So anything that went in voices made me feel like I can keep writing.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I did the Red Leaves, Red Snow, and those, it was like, okay, I can publish. And then when I went and got Red Crimes, like that novel length book in my hands, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is my first real book. And yeah, it's a different feeling. So yeah, I agree with what you said about the smaller successes. So I think it's important to think about what brings you the most joy in the entire process. So the smaller milestones being I finished the rough draft of a project. Yay! I finished the editing. Woohoo! Okay, now it's formatted and it's published. Okay, yes, and then you get your physical book and woohoo! For me, the biggest part of feeling like I'm successful is when I've reached readers and someone says to me, wow, I really enjoyed that book. And I think there was 2 moments where I really felt that. So the first one was when I had published Red Leaves in Voices. We were at McNally Robinson's in Winnipeg for the launch, and a woman I had never met came up to me and she says, "Are you Tania Stephenson?" I said, "Yes." And she goes, "You wrote Red Leaves." I said, "Yes." And she goes, "I really loved Red Leaves. It was so good." I'm like, oh my gosh, somebody liked my story. And then I think the second time that I felt, there was 3 actually. So the second one was when my husband's coworker wanted a copy of Red Crimes, the novel length, and he read it and he said that he was sitting at home reading the book, but the cover has a bloody knife on it and he has kids. So his kids were coming to him saying, "Dad, what are you reading? What are you reading?" So what he did was he would cover my cover while he was reading it to get through it. But he said he really enjoyed it and he's waiting for Red Rain to come out. And I actually just saw him last month for the first time in a long time. And yeah, he's really excited to read Red Rain. And then the third one was actually my mom. She read 300 Man and she says, "This is the best story you've ever written, Tania." And then I thought, oh my gosh, this is great. That means I'm improving as a writer and she's seeing that. So, but yeah, I think that's the biggest one for me, is hearing people enjoyed my story. And I know that light behind me is going to go out. The battery is dying, so we'll just ignore that.
Okay.
It'll die any moment now.
There we go.
Oh, and it's gone.
It's flashing. There's flashing. Okay. Yeah, we were at one of the early launches, and I think I only had a second or third story in Voices, and a complete stranger came up to me and said, "I actually really enjoyed my story." And the way you feel, I know what you mean. It's this, wow, like someone who you don't know. You don't know this person. They have no reason to say you're doing good and then walk away going, "Oh my God." You know what I mean? They have no reason to do that. They can come up to you and say, and tell you they give you their honest opinion. And I'm lucky, and I think you're lucky too. My parents have always been brutally honest, and with all of us. And people have said to me, "Your family's harsh." I said, "They're not harsh." He said, "No, I heard the way your dad took apart your story." I said, "Yeah, but he's right. I did make those mistakes." He goes, "Yeah, but he's your dad." I go, "Yeah, that's why it's more important to me that he is honest with me." And they looked at me like I was crazy. They said, you don't get it. And I said, no, I do get it. My dad loves me. He wants me to succeed. And he's going to be brutally honest with me because he says to me, you know, I love you. And he always starts. And I go, okay, there's fixes that need to be made. I know, you know, I love you. So, and I miss that. You know, my mom, the same thing. She goes, I really like this story, but I need to point something out. And she had listed off that I introduced 20 characters in 3 chapters. She said, it's a bit much. And I went, you're right. You're right. You're completely right. I got to ease off on the introduction of these characters. She's like, yeah. But
Yeah, I think that's important. Getting your family's feedback can be
honest.
beneficial as long as they're honest.
Yes. Here's an example of people in my family. Our cousins owned a store for a while, and in that store they would make pizzas. So I always ordered one of 2 pizzas. We ordered their version of the meat lovers with peppers, because it always came with peppers. It was meat lovers, but it also always had peppers on it. Or I'd order a double pepperoni mushroom, or a double pepperoni mushroom, and don't hate me, with pineapple. Okay? Because I love, even though I'm Italian, and I can't tell my family this, I love pineapple on pizza. I cannot tell my family this, but so
I like that. Pineapple on pizza is actually really good. When I was younger, I hated pineapple, but as I started getting older, like in my teenage years to early 20s, I began to really love pineapple on pizza, like the Hawaiian.
yeah, and I don't like the Hawaiian pizza. I don't like the ham. That's why everybody looks at me and goes, what? What do you mean you don't like the ham? I said, I don't like the ham. I like the pineapple.
Do you know what's a really good pizza is salami and bacon.
Oh, that does sound good. Especially with the capioli. Anyways,
Yes, back to the writing topic.
yes,
Success.
sorry.
So I was looking at how our listeners could determine how they define success. So I think one of the biggest things is, yes, your achievements, your small achievements, like the writing, the finishing a project, the publication, and that. Think about, like, is it sharing the stories? Is it publishing and finishing a specific project? Is it finally turning a profit? Or is it like the big picture, the supporting you and your family? Like, I think that would be my very big high level success, would be being able to get a full-time income from it.
And understanding that as you move forward, your definition of success will change. If earning money from telling, how does Lawrence Block put it? Telling lies for fun and profit. As long as those lies are true, you can do it. So turning a profit for me, earning back money on projects, to me, is how I actually define success in the projects now. My projects have to pay their cost of production. And that means holding a physical copy in my hand. That doesn't mean, what's the word I'm looking for? It literally means a physical copy in my hand. For some people, that may be it for them, done. They've printed off 25 copies, they've given their friends and family, and they're done. They're happy. That is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And that may be as far as you want to go. And again, this is up to the individual, and that is fine. Do not judge yourself by others people's definition. Like you say, determine what you want to do. If you're serious about the writing, now, there's 2 things you have to be careful with. Some people want to have written, and some people want to be writers. Those are 2 distinct things. They are not the same thing. People who want to have written will use AI or every shortcut in the book, and they'll even invent new ones to produce a product because they want to be a best-selling author. They don't care about the quality of the product. They don't care who actually wrote it. They may not be able to say the names of their own characters. And because none of that's important to them. What's important to them is the prestige that they perceive they're going to get from holding the book up and saying, I did this. Now, this is nothing new. Like, I did this. Now, I technically, laid this out. I did not fill it with content. I laid this beautiful book out, and I helped select pictures, and I did the fonts. As a person does layout, you know how important that is, doing fonts and whatnot. And I'm very proud of this, and I'll always be proud of this. It sits on my bookshelf. There's a whole set of them, including all the books I've published for other people as well, including all my chapbooks and Saddlebounds. And this for me is the sound of my success. But for me now, this is like how do I say this? Like a step, foundation. So this was, at the time it was happening, it was my definition of success. It paid for itself. It moved forward. I didn't earn any money, but I loved doing it, and it felt to me like success. And then about certain ways up, I started to earn a little bit of money off my writing. Not a lot. Not a lot. I think the most I ever earned was like, I think it was like $3,000 or $4,000 in 1 year, after projects paid for themselves. So I was very proud of that. At the same time, though, I have to explain that, like, Don't Worry, It's Just a Wind paid for its publication. That was my first book. Paid for its publication, paid for the software I bought to make it into a book, and paid for my website. I also was able to pay my contributor $300 in cash and several cases of books for him to sell. And I still have books that I sell. Everything I sell now from Don't Worry, It's Just the Wind is, people, oh, that's gravy, it's pure profit. Well, no, because it goes into my daily costs. It goes into my other projects' costs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I see that as a success because I have boxes of books. I think I'm down to 3 that I can still sell. It still brings in money. And that money now contributes to my projects today. The voices, I bought out the voices. So when I sell voices at events, I'm earning money from things that did not pay me to do at the time, but covered its cost. But now they go toward maintenance of websites, upgrading of computer, paying for domain names, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm taking a class. I'm sad. I'm taking a class on the 21st, and that cost, if I sell books this year, that cost is then covered from those books of Don't Worry and Voices. Do you see what I'm saying? So,
Yep.
although but my next step, this is what now I am arguing is my next step, and I have to go for it now while I can, is to put together a larger body of work. I actually thought I would have a larger body of work by now, but as you know, I have 3 completed novels sitting on desks waiting to be rented. Yeah.
That's exciting.
And it is, but it's also, they've been sitting there for 10 years, so it's kind of like, what's the term? Life got in the way, but I let life get in the way. I didn't prioritize the writing because other things were happening that I had to prioritize first. Right?
Yeah, I'm just throwing this out there. We have 4 markets booked. The first one is in June. It is
April.
Early March. Yep. June something. June 6th, I think, or something like that. That's our first official market.
Yep.
Nope, May. Early May is the first official market. Okay, anyways, my point is you have time right now to get at least one of those completed, formatted, and cover design ordered and ready for publication, and get print copies. You have the time to do it. Mm-hmm. And then you'll feel that explosion of success, and you will be happy, and then you will get excited, and then you will get your other books ready for the next markets, and you will have more product to sell that is yours outside of Voices.
Yes. And that is my goal. That is, this may sound weird. A lot of people are afraid of failure. And some of us are afraid of success. I was actually asked this. We were in a class on producing your own work and getting it out there. And it was for mixed artists. So there was 3 or 4 writers. There was a lady who did fabric art. There was a couple painters, a sculptor. And I'm sorry, I can't remember the other person did. I think they did play, but they fired it. Anyways, these people had fantastic work that would knock your socks off. And I standing in there looking at all these works, looking at the lady with her stacks of her plays and stuff, and the other lady, and I'm like, oh stars, why am I here? I don't fit in with these people. And so our teacher says, so how many of you were sitting there saying, you don't fit in here, you're not a success like these other people? Every one of us put our hands up.
Wow.
Yeah. And then she went through and she found that half of us were afraid of success and half of us were afraid of failure. And she says, that's about right. And I'm like, well, why would I be afraid of success? Why are you saying I am stalling my own success? And she said, because success means change and means you're expected to do it again.
Wow. That's deep.
Isn't it? I was like, okay.
Okay, so now have you gotten any homework for us?
Yes. What is your definition of success? All right. What do you plan on what is your definition of success right now? And what will it be in 5 years? How will you say, okay, in 5 years, I want to be. Okay, so in 5 years, I want to have published 5 novels. This is my definition of success. So what I do now is say, okay, we're in 2026, so in 2031, we have. But we still are. You know, what are the steps you need to take, or I need to take, you need to take, whomever needs to take for their 5-year goal to be reached? Because you don't aim at that goal and then you say, okay, you take that goal, you break it down, what you need to achieve each year, and then you take the goal for that year and you break it down for each coming month. What do you need to do to achieve it?
That's too much planning, Tyra.
No, it isn't. 5 novels, 1 novel a year. I have to complete 1 novel this year. That's it.
Okay, my definition of success just for this year. Okay. Number 1, survive the book launch that I have never organized before, and to be able to stay upright and make it through my speech. That's number 1. Number 2, survive physically all of the vendor markets that we have booked.
Yep.
Number 3 is to finish Red Rain.
Excellent.
5-year plan. Okay, I have been planning this as a goal every year for many, many moons. I really want to get my high fantasy published.
All right.
Technically, my pen name is published or will be published in the Portals anthology. But I would like to get a novel published. So rather than me saying that's a goal for this year, because I feel like it's not going to happen, maybe I'll put that as my 5-year success goal.
Okay. So
but it might happen sooner.
And that is good. If your goal happens sooner, that is better than it happening later. I'll just tell you that. Both for the feeling it gives you and for being able to achieve things, giving you confidence in what you can achieve. So my novel is written. It has been edited. I am going to format it, get another round of editing done on it, and it's The Family Man, and then I will have it printed and ready to go for the
May 2nd?
May 2nd? Yeah, it's the May one, early May.
Yeah.
That is my goal with The Family Man. Now, it's already written. It's already had several rounds of editing. So it's not a blind project. It's not like I'm not starting a book. And I am actually ahead of a lot of people in the fact that I have Blood is Black in Moonlight completed and sitting there. And that's a 10-year-old novel. And I have, I have Lake Effect, which is a science fiction thriller. I'm at 122 pages, and I've outlined the whole book. But I've had 122 pages written. Like, so,
Right.
so I only have, I think, 5 chapters left to go. No, 6 chapters left to go. And it'll be coming in around 90,000, 95,000 words. So,
That's awesome.
yeah. So,
we can do this.
yeah.
Okay, well, I think it is time to wrap things up. So thank you, everybody, for joining us, and have a great rest of your day, afternoon, evening, night, or whatever, and happy writing.
And remember, story comes first.
Goodbye. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you have a great rest of your day, afternoon, evening, night, or whatever, and keep on writing.
Yes, and remember, story comes first.